Hello there, thank you for taking the time to look through my portfolio. In this video today I'm going to be stepping you through a terminal application that I created in Python based around the classic tic-tac-toe game. In this video today I'm going to be stepping you through some of the key features and the overall structure of the application, and I'll go through some of the key features of the code. What you'll see is that there are 5 main features of the application. The first is that there is an easy mode where the user can play against an easy player, which is going to select where to position their marker, either an X or an O in tic-tac-toe, on the board, and it's going to randomly select a position. So it's going to be a pretty easy player to beat. There's also an expert mode, however, that will select the most optimal position based on a recursive minimax algorithm that's going to select the position that's going to lead to the player either winning or tying every single game. So it's an unbeatable player. Another feature of the application is that the outcome, the gameplay order, is determined by the outcome of a scissors, paper, rock game. So the winner of scissors, paper, rock will be the player that goes first. And the player that goes first is important in tic-tac-toe because it does give you a distinct advantage. Fourthly, users can log in so that their data is maintained in a separate CSV file, and this allows their scores to be updated after each game. Which brings us to point 5, which is that gameplay data is maintained in a separate CSV file, which is shown to the user to help them select which character to play with, and also will bring up a top 10 players at the end of the game to encourage users to improve and to keep playing. Let's have a look now at how this application will actually run. Now you'll see I've set this up to run automatically with a bash script. So if you clone my application from the GitHub repository, it will be easy to download and run the application from your terminal. And you'll see when I run that bash command, it automatically downloads all of the dependencies for the application. So I'll leave some more information about that in the description box below. Now what you will see is when the user logs in, when they open the terminal application, there's going to be 3 different options they can choose from. You can register as a new user, you can log in as an existing user, or play as a guest. Let's say that I decide, let's practice going through registering as a new user. Now I've already played this game multiple times to check that it works. So if I enter my name as a username, because usernames have to be unique, an error message is going to come up to say that's already taken. You need to choose a unique username. So let's say now to make it unique, I add the first letter of my second name by adding in a Clark there. So it's accepted that, it likes that, but now it's going to ask me for a password, and I've intentionally put in restrictions here on the type of password you can select. So if I just type in 2 letters, it's going to say not a valid password, that's too long. If I type in something really long, it's also going to say that's not valid either. Now, if I am not very good at writing a password, I might then pick one that's the correct length, but it's going to say, sorry, you need 1 uppercase and 1 lowercase character. Let's say I don't read that properly and enter all uppercase. The same error will be thrown to say to the user, you need to pick one. So you'll see I've put in a lot of error handling in here to try to make it so that you're watching the user input to make it behave the way you expect it to. So let's say I listen to that now and I enter one with 1 capital letter at the start. It's going to say you also need a number in there. So I'm going to go password 1. It's going to ask me to confirm the password. Let's say I confirm it wrong. It's going to say you need to enter it again. Those passwords don't match. So now I can enter it properly, and it will say registration successful. Now that was a very lengthy process, but that's because I went through and showed what every single possible error that I predicted someone could make would come up. So it wouldn't actually take that long each time you run the application. Then it's going to ask you for your first name, because your username might not actually be your first name. As you can see here, it wasn't for me because my username was taken. So I'm going to say, yep, my name's Dale. Now it's going to ask you to confirm this. That might seem annoying, but the number of times I typed my name wrong made me add this feature in so that you just confirm that your name is entered correctly and you didn't make a typo the first time around. What you'll see then is it gives you the option of selecting what opponent you would like to play against. And you'll see it brings up some opponent player information. And I've got all this stored in a separate CSV file. And you'll see down here, there's all the information about the different players, and that's maintained in that CSV file. And I've got it designed to just display the first 4 players, so it's not going to show you any of the other people who played the game in this specific table. You'll also see that they've got information about their personality, their wins, their ties, their losses, the total games they've played, and then it calculates a percentage loss ratio when it brings in this specific table. So let's say I've decided to play on easy mode. It's then drawing in data from this table to create a paragraph about each of the players. So I've set it up so that it will say, firstly, there's the kind-hearted and lovable Pete the Panda. Now, if you wanted to change that, you could go into the CSV file and change it to whatever personality you wanted, and it would immediately update in the table. Also, every time this player will win, the win record will update, and when it ties, the tie record will update, and so on and so forth. So let's say I decide to play with Pete the Panda. It will bring up some ASCII text to show what Pete the Panda looks like, and it will say, it will bring up the option then to play the scissors, paper, rock game that I was talking about earlier. So you can choose to play either scissors, paper, rock. Let's go rock. And you will see then that I win. So you'll see the ASCII text for both of the players. The rock will crush scissors, and then it will say you win. Congratulations. Then there are some different positional keys that you can select to play on the board. And you will either enter 1, 2, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to show where you want to be positioned. Press enter to begin. So immediately I'm going to play in position 1. It's always good to play in a corner. You'll see then that this character will just be randomly selecting where to go, and there's no logic to his positioning. So if I just say 5, you'll see that the player didn't logically take the win position down there. And the reason is because it's just randomly selecting where to go. So again, there's some more error handling here. Let's say that I enter a number that's outside of the range. It's going to say that's not a valid position on the board. You chose something that's too low. Let's say that I chose a number. Say I entered gibberish. It's going to say that isn't a valid integer. You need to enter a number with no decimal places. So let's take the win now. So let's go to position 9 and you'll say, you win, congratulations. And it will bring up this top 10 players information about each of the different players. The ones with the most wins are going to be shown here. And you'll see that the expert players are at the top there because they've won the most games. And then you can choose to play again or not. So I'm going to choose no there. I'm going to not play again. And I'm going to show you that it's saved the records that we've got. So even if you're not playing, if you close the game down and you open it again, it's still going to work. So let's play again. And this time, let's log in with that same user. So the username we just entered, well, let's practice entering a name that doesn't exist. I can show you that too. So if I enter a username that doesn't exist, it's going to say the gibberish you just typed in is not an existing username. Please try again. So let's then enter the username I did before. If I enter a password that's not the password that I set before, it's going to say incorrect, try again. But because my password was so terrible, I do remember it. And again, it's going to ask what your name is. So I'm going to enter my name there. Note that what I enter as my name is not actually what's stored in the player's score history though. It's going to be based around, in order to update your scores, it's going to be based around the username that you've actually entered rather than your name. So yes, that is my name. Now let's play on expert mode now. And you'll see it's quite similar. So I'm going to play with Ollie the Octopus. And again, I'm going to select, this time I'm going to choose paper. They've chosen scissors, so they won. Now, let's talk through some of the logic for the expert player. Now, the expert player initially is going to just select the position on the board as based for the first one. So if they're the ones going first, it's going to randomly select one of the corner positions. So either 1, 3, 7, or 9. That's how I've set the game up. Then I'm going to go in position 5. And it's then going to select the best position that's going to give it the most likely win. So if I didn't go in position 3, it would definitely take position 3. So let's go position 3 now. It's going to try to block me, because if I didn't go to position 7, sorry, if it didn't go to position 7, I would win. So now I'm going to play position 4 to block there, and then they'll block me. And you'll see that this is going to be a tie game, because there's no win or no loss there. So I'm going to go position 8. I'll go position 9 and you'll see it's a tie. As you go through, you will see also that the scores from last time have updated to reflect the outcome of the previous game. And you'll see this time as we go through, I appear here. So you'll see Dale C, so this is me. You'll see I've won 1 game, I've tied 1 game, and I've played a total of 2 games. I've got a percentage loss ratio of 0% because I haven't actually lost any games. So it's updated my score history like so. And now that we've finished, Would you like to play again? Again, I'm going to say no, I'm not going to play again. In order to get a good understanding of this application, I thought I'd step you through some of the key features of the code. And I'm going to go in and talk you through some of the error handling that I've done, specifically relating to when the user enters the position they would like to play in on the board. As you can see here, let's start from this while loop. So I'll just talk about kind of how you get to here. So while there's 3 positions left on the board, it's going to clear the screen. And if it is the X player's turn, based on the name, so if it's X player's turn, then it's going to run through this. Because obviously if it's the O player turn, it doesn't need user input if the computer's playing. What it will do is I've got a forever loop here that could potentially run forever. So while these conditions are true, it's going to try to get the user's move. So it'll say the position is going to be equal to X player, and it's going to call the method of get move based on the parameter of game. So that's going to take the user over to the interpreter over here to the get move function. Now what you'll see is I've got all of the information about players in a separate module. And you'll see there's a parent player class and then a user player, which will inherit from the player class. And what you see here is I've got a method called getMove. What this will do is it will set the value to be an integer. It's going to turn the user's input into an integer, and it's going to subtract 1 from that. It's subtracting 1 because Python uses a zero-based index. A zero-based number system. So what you see is if the value is not in the range of 0 to 9, so if what the user enters -1 is not within this range, it's going to raise a range error. And what you'll see is I've got some errors here, and a range error will say that is not a valid position on the board. The number must be between 1 and 9. If, however, that's not the case, so if you do have a number between 0 and 9, if that is not in the game's free position, so the game itself is its own class, and it's going to have a method of free positions, which is going to show all the positions that are free on the board. If it's not within that, so if it's not within those free positions, it's going to raise an occupied error. And the occupied error is just going to say that position, it's going to tell you, restate what your position is, so it's adding 1 back on, otherwise it would be the position that Python's reading, so you add 1 back onto it, and it's going to say that position is already occupied, please try again. And then after it's done that, it will return the value. So what you'll see is I've actually implemented the error handling within the main section. So it's going to try to do this, but it's going to accept some errors. So if there's a range error, it's going to show that message, and it's going to immediately repeat this cycle again. So it's going to ask you to enter your position again if it throws a range error. Same with occupied error. If it throws an occupied error, it's going to start again. Then it also might raise a value error. So if the user enters a string, or a number that has decimal places, it's going to throw a value error, and in which case it's again going to break out of that cycle and go back through the loop, and it's going to start the loop again. But if they don't raise any errors, it will break out of the loop, and that's how you exit this potentially infinite loop. So I'm just going to end the video there. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Again, there's a decent amount of code here that I haven't explained, so feel free to have a look at this through the GitHub repo. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks again. Bye.